Welcome to Sleepy Lore. Tonight, we tell the story of Odin, the Allfather of the Norse gods, and the sacrifice he made alone, in the dark, to learn the secrets of the universe. A myth of silence and waiting, of what it costs to understand, and of the knowledge that only comes when you stop trying to reach for it. Allow yourself to settle in, breathe slowly, and let the story carry you. Before we tell the story, we need to understand something about Odin. Odin was not the kind of god who was easy to know. He was not warm, the way Baldur was warm. He was not straightforward, the way Thor was straightforward. He was complicated and ancient and often unknowable, and the people who worshipped him understood that about him. That to follow Odin was to follow something you could not entirely trust, something that moved in ways you could not always see, for reasons that would only become clear later, if they became clear at all. He was the Allfather. He had created the world, along with his brothers, from the body of the first giant. He had breathed life into the first humans, given them warmth and color and the ability to think. He ruled over Asgard, the realm of the gods, from his high seat called Hlidskjalf, from which he could see into all 9 worlds. He saw everything, and what he saw troubled him, because Odin, for all his power, understood something that most powerful beings do not understand, that power is not the same as wisdom. That seeing everything is not the same as understanding it. That ruling the world does not mean you know what the world is, or where it is going, or what will be required of you when the end finally comes. And Odin knew the end was coming. He had seen it in the threads of fate. He had seen the shape of Ragnarok, the great final battle, the destruction of the gods, the breaking of the world. He knew it would come. He did not know exactly when, or exactly how, or exactly what could be done about it. He spent a great deal of his life trying to find out. One of the things Odin did, early in his search for wisdom, was to go to a well. The well sat beneath one of the roots of Yggdrasil, the great world tree that holds all 9 realms in its branches and roots. This particular root reached down into the realm of Niflheim, the realm of cold and mist, and at the base of that root sat the Well of Mimir. Mimir was an ancient being, ancient even by the standards of gods, who had drunk from the well so long ago that the drinking and the knowing had become the same thing. He knew everything that had ever happened. He knew things that had not happened yet. He sat beside the well in the cold and the quiet, and the water of the well moved through him, the way knowledge moves through a very old mind, slowly, without hurry, without the need to show itself off. Odin came to him and asked to drink from the well. Mimir considered this for a long time. Then he named his price. 1 eye. Odin thought about this. He thought about what it would mean to see the world with 1 eye instead of 2, the depth that would be lost, the things at the edges of vision that would disappear. He thought about the pain of it. He thought about the permanence of it, because a thing given to a well is not a thing that comes back. Then he reached up and took out his own eye and placed it in the water. He drank. What he learned, he never fully described. The Norse myths are quiet about the content of the knowledge. They tell you that he drank and that the knowledge came, but they do not tell you what the knowledge was. Perhaps because it was the kind of knowledge that cannot be described, only experienced. Perhaps because the gods who recorded these stories did not know. Perhaps because Mimir kept it that way. What we know is that Odin came back from that well different, more cautious, more patient, more willing to wait, but still not satisfied, because there was something else he needed, something the water of the well could not give him. The runes. The runes were not simply letters. They were not simply an alphabet, a system for writing things down. In the Norse understanding of the world, the runes were something closer to the underlying structure of reality, the patterns and forces that move beneath the surface of things, that hold the world together, that can be called upon to change what is. They existed. They had always existed. They were woven into the fabric of Yggdrasil itself, into the roots and branches of the world tree, waiting to be discovered. But discovering them was not a matter of looking. You could look at the runes for 1,000 years and not see them. They revealed themselves only under a very particular kind of pressure. Odin knew this. He had known it for a long time. He had turned the knowledge over in his mind, looking at it from different angles, and he had always come to the same conclusion. The only way to learn the runes was to hang on the tree. Yggdrasil stood at the center of everything. Its roots reached into 3 wells. The Well of Mimir, which we have already visited, the Well of Fate tended by the 3 Norns who wove the destinies of all beings, and the Well of Hvergelmir, the source of all rivers. Its branches reached up into the realm of the gods, and the eagle that lived in its upper branches and the serpent that gnawed at its roots had been quarreling since before the world began. It was an old tree, the oldest thing in existence, perhaps. It had stood through the creation of the world and would stand, the myths say, even through Ragnarok, scarred and shaking but not destroyed, one of the few things that would survive into whatever came after. Odin approached the tree alone. He had told no one what he intended. He had made no announcement. He simply came to the tree, and he looked up into its branches, and then he took his spear, his great spear Gungnir, which had been made by the dwarves and which never missed its mark, and he drove it through his own side, and he hung himself from a branch of Yggdrasil. He hung there 9 days, 9 nights. The Norse number 9 was not chosen carelessly. 9 was the number of the worlds held in the tree. It was the number of great mysteries. It appeared again and again in the Norse stories at moments of transformation. 9 days and 9 nights being the length of time required for something fundamental to change, for a threshold to be crossed that could not be uncrossed. 9 days and 9 nights. No food, no water. He had told the other gods not to help him, and they did not. He hung alone, in the cold, with the spear in his side, with nothing to do but wait, and suffer, and look into the dark. We do not know what those 9 days were like for him. The myths do not describe the experience from the inside. We see it from the outside, the way you might watch a person sitting very still in a difficult place. You can see the stillness, but you cannot see what is happening within it. What we can imagine is this. The first day, perhaps, was simply pain. The awareness of the wound, the cold, the strange position of the body. The mind moving quickly, the way minds move when they are frightened or uncomfortable, looking for a way out, finding none, circling back. The second day, perhaps, something begins to settle. The pain is still there, but the resistance to it starts to soften. The mind, having exhausted its options, begins to quiet. Not because the situation has improved, it hasn't, but because the mind has finally understood that there is nothing to be done, and in that understanding found, if not peace, then at least stillness. The third day. The fourth. The world tree moving gently above him, the branches vast and slow. The sounds of the 9 worlds, distant, impossible to locate, present the way certain sounds are present in the deepest part of the night. He was not simply waiting, he was looking. He had turned his one remaining eye inward, toward the roots of things, toward the patterns beneath the surface. He was doing what the runes required, not reaching, not grasping, but opening. This is the paradox at the center of the story. The runes could not be taken. They could not be extracted by force or by cleverness or by the kind of determined effort that usually works on problems. They could only be found by a mind that had stopped trying to find them. A mind that had been emptied by suffering and silence and time until there was nothing left in it but readiness. Day 7. Day 8. The world was very large and very quiet. And on the 9th day, in the dark, before what might have been dawn, Odin looked down, and he saw them, the runes. They were there in the roots and the soil and the water below him, patterns that had always been there, that he had looked at 1,000 times without seeing, that had required exactly this, exactly the emptying, exactly the waiting, exactly the wound, before they would consent to be seen. He cried out. The myths say he cried out when he saw them, a sound that was not pain and not joy, but something that encompassed both, the sound of something understood that had always been just out of reach. He gathered them to himself. He learned their names, he learned their shapes, he learned what they could do. Then he fell from the tree, and he was alive. The runes he had learned were 24 in number, and each one held a different kind of power. There were runes for protection, runes for victory, runes for healing, runes for knowledge. There were runes that could be carved into wood or stone or bone and would carry their power into the object. There were runes that could be spoken aloud at the right moment and would change the outcome of things. Odin shared the runes. He gave them to the gods, and to the humans, and to the other beings of the 9 worlds. He taught others what he had learned. The runes became the alphabet of the Norse people, yes, but they remained, underneath that practical use, something older and stranger. A reminder that some knowledge has a cost, that understanding does not come freely or easily or without sacrifice, that the things most worth knowing are the things that require the most of you to learn. After the tree, Odin was quieter, more deliberate. He moved through the world differently, taking his time, watching, listening, willing to let things unfold at their own pace, rather than forcing them. He had learned, on the tree, what patience actually was. Not the patience of someone waiting for a thing to be over, but the patience of someone who has understood that the thing you need cannot be rushed, that it will come when it comes, and that your task is not to make it come faster, but to be ready when it does. He still searched. He was always searching, for more knowledge, for more wisdom, for anything that might help him understand what was coming and how to face it. He traveled in disguise through the 9 worlds, an old man with one eye and a wide-brimmed hat and a staff, asking questions, listening, learning. He never stopped being troubled by what he knew. He never stopped carrying the weight of what was coming. But he had learned, on the tree, that the weight was bearable, that darkness does not last forever, that if you can be still enough, long enough, the thing you need will find you. He had proven it. 9 days and 9 nights, alone, with nothing but the dark and the wind and the roots of the world beneath him. And then, the runes. And then, everything. Rest now. You have been still tonight, the way Odin was still. You have let the words move through you without grasping at them. That is enough. The night is long and quiet. Let it be long and quiet. There is nothing that needs to be solved or reached for or understood. Only this, the darkness and the breath and the slow passage of time into sleep. Good night.